Good morning, YouTube, and Gav here on a very chilly December morning here in Toronto, Canada. Just with one of the first videos for the CB550 build. What I'm trying to do with these videos is basically just to document my CB550 build. It's a 1978 CB550 I actually picked up in Merlin, Ontario. There will be a video up on the pickup because it was a pretty interesting drive. I had a lot of time to reflect. On how stupid it was to buy a bike that is in just a bunch of pieces. But maybe I can use this video to explain a little bit more about why I bought that bike, what the purpose of the project is, and why I'm vlogging it. So, why I bought that bike. I've been looking for a bike for like the last 5 years. I've looked at all different kinds, like within the realm of cafe, vintage bikes, because they're cheap on insurance, and I won't kill myself on them, as far as I know. But I really do love, like, obviously newer super sport bikes like the CBR600RR. You know, something that would be relatively affordable and really fun and really fast. I love those bikes, but I just can't afford them. I can't afford the insurance on them. I don't have parents who are very supportive of motorcycle riding and you know, that lifestyle. So it would be a very tough sell to bring home a bike like that would have such a negative connotation. CBR 600s or CBR 1000s or Yamaha R1s, which are all gorgeous bikes, and I absolutely adore them, but it just wasn't for me at this stage of my life. So a couple of years back, that's when I started looking into the cafe racers, because those were the super sport bikes, you know, generations ago, and I think that they still have a lot of swagger and style to them today, and you still get pretty good performance. You still get a decent bang for your buck, and you know, you're not going to push the machine the same way that you would a newer super sports bike, obviously, because it's not nearly as capable. But, you know, there's just something to them that I've always really liked. I've always liked that era of motorsport in the 60s. I like the whole culture surrounding the cafe racer. So anyway, when I've been looking for a good bike for the value for years. But I'm also looking for a project. I don't want a bike that I'm going to buy, store for half the year, and then ride. To me, there's no value in that, in just storing something for right now. Like, I'd rather build something properly that has, you know, very good resale value at the end of the project, and that sort of in itself becomes fulfilling as far as value is concerned. So when I came across this ad on Kijiji, it was actually just the gentleman, the previous owner, just selling the frame of the bike. And I started thinking, oh yeah, I'll buy a frame, and then, you know, I'll slowly come across all the other parts. Thank God I didn't go down that road, because just seeing the amount of parts that's on this bike, that would have been insanely expensive and insanely difficult to come across all of the little pieces, components that you need for a vintage motorcycle. So basically, I went up there with the intentions, like I said, of just buying the frame. It's a powder coated frame, completely stripped, clean history. I have the ownership, and it has the serial number of the frame on the ownership. But once I saw the frame, I saw he had the motor on the ground. It looked to be in pretty good, decent shape. And then I also saw bins and bins of, you know, labeled CB550 on them. So, just out of curiosity, I asked him how much he would be willing to part with the entire bike for, and he said $1,000. He listed the frame for $700, which I knew was insanely overinflated, but it was powder coated, so maybe he had some idea that he'd get $700 for it. When he said $1,000, I was a little bit hesitant, but I thought, you know what, $1,000 for a bike that, you know, I can turn the engine over with the Kickstarter. I know it's not seized. He says it was running before he stripped it. The frame is powder coated, swing arm is powder coated. As things have been sandblasted, which I'm going to sandblast myself because really I don't like the job he did on them. But anyway, and he labeled all the little pieces of the bike, so it showed that time had gone into this project and a lot of thought had gone into it as well. So that gave me a little bit of confidence there, and obviously we had driven 2.5 hours. So if I'm going to give anyone advice, if you're going to look at something, try not to drive 2.5 hours for it, because the chances of you leaving without that item are very low. So I bought it. Bought the frame, bought the motor, bought all the rest of the bike. Seat, gas tank, cowlings, and 3 bins of electrical and other hardware for this bike. And since then, I got a storage unit for it. It's currently, all the parts are in that storage unit, and what I'm planning to do is piece by piece build it. So that's the you know, how I came across this bike, and I guess why I'm into cafe racers. But what are the plans now for this bike? Well, since I'm starting with a totally clean, stripped down bike with nothing on it, I figured the best way to go about it is keep two things in mind. One, I can turn this bike into whatever I want. I currently have no restrictions because it is just a frame at this point. It's a powder coated frame. I can do whatever I want to it. I can go more into a cafe style with that cowling on the rear. I could do a seat that makes it look like it has a cowling. I could do a brat style, which is just like that flat seat with the little uplift at the end, the upsweep at the end. There's so many things I can do with it. But what I'm really looking to go for is like a nice, classy looking vintage bike. And I also feel that it'll have better resale value at the end of the project if it has those trademarks. You know, it looks like a classy machine. What I'm really trying to get out of this bike, and the major thing is the cost here, as I'm trying to get a beautiful looking machine at the end of it, a well riding machine, something that maybe has a little bit more performance over stock, but again, as far as engine performance, I could do as much as I want to this engine. I'm going to be using the same brakes. I'm going to be using these vintage brakes. So what's the point in making this thing so fast if it won't be able to slow down? I'm also going to be using the original suspension. You know, that also brings into mind, I'm probably not going to be carving canyons with this bike. It's really just going to be a nice cruiser. I'm looking more to get the feel of a vintage motorcycle out of it. So trying to make the classiest build possible. I don't want it to look like the stock bike. I want it to look like a really well-built cafe racer, and I've taken inspiration from guys like CB550 motorcycles, which I think they just make absolutely gorgeous bikes. The color schemes they use, the materials they use, and the finish on these bikes is absolutely gorgeous. That's what I'm going for. That is the build that I would like to follow. But I know that CB550 motorcycles bikes probably cost upwards of $30,000. So I know that mine is not going to be a CB550 motorcycle. And that's really important. I'm not trying to replicate to a T what they did there. So why am I vlogging the build? Well, really, I'm vlogging to document just how easy and how difficult it is, I'm assuming it's going to be very difficult, to build a vintage motorcycle basically from scratch. I mean, this thing is just in pieces. On a budget and with limited mechanical competency. I haven't done anything in the way of motorcycles, especially vintage carbureted motors. The only project I've ever done was I actually did a lot of stuff to this car, what I consider a lot of stuff. The car I'm currently driving, the 2015 Honda Accord Coupe, I had a full exhaust on it, an intake. It was lowered with a camber kit in the rear. I had some wheel spacers on to get the fitment just right. I had a tune running on it, I had a dynoed. It was a great project, and I'll probably do another video on just on what I did to this car. It's currently back to stock. Of course, I had to take all my eggs out of this basket, put them in the CB550 basket, and this car just drives so well stock that it really made sense to me there. Keep this as a great driving daily. You know, don't bug around with it. Don't enjoy it too much, because at the end of the day, it is a front-wheel drive manual car, so there's only so much you can put to the front wheels through an open diff. But anyway, that's enough about this Honda for now. We're talking more about that vintage Honda that I just bought, and why I'm vlogging. Again, just want to get it well documented, and I think it'll be really interesting because I haven't seen anyone build these in Canada. All the vlogs on YouTube for these builds, and there aren't many. CB550 is a very popular bike, but all these builds are being done in the States, and of course it's a little bit different pricing wise there because shipping is obviously cheaper. A lot of these parts do come from the States for these bikes, so I think that's going to be really interesting to get a Canadian perspective on that, because we have just as much of a culture up here, just that cafe racers specifically. We don't have many cafe racer shops. I think that there's one that I found on Google, and I'm still gonna look into it, see if I can get a hold of them. I'll keep you guys up to date with the goings on of the project, you know, piece by piece, what I'm building, what I'm cleaning up, what I'm restoring. So let's go check out the storage unit. Wow, a lot of people here today at the storage unit. Interesting, usually when I come here there's absolutely no one. Open up the gate. Like I said, as far as the investment is concerned, love that. Love this window. I'm a service advisor at Honda, so I'm not going to burden anyone with fixing a window like that. Okay. Alright, let's go have a look. So, we're going to go take a look at the storage unit. As you can tell here, a lot of units. I got the cheapest one available. Grab my key. And here is the home for the next few months of my CB550 build. So these are all the parts that I got up in Merlin, Ontario. Again, the bike was originally together. When he had started taking it apart, he bagged up everything in nice neat little bags. This box looks a little bit clustered. That's the wire harness, you can see. Ziploc bagged everything that I guess went together. Nice set of keys right there. Those were a bitch to find. And this is the powder coated frame. As far as I can tell, the only area, frame and swing arm right underneath there. The only area I can tell that I'm gonna need to do some work on is this area right there. Looks like some of the paint dripped and left a blank area right over there. It's kind of hard to see in the light, but there you go. So yeah, I got the whole frame, the 4-into-1 exhaust. Now, as far as I know, this bike didn't come stock with the 4-into-1 exhaust. It actually came with four individual exhaust pipes coming off. So that is there. It's all black. I'll probably debaffle that. Side covers, which I don't plan on putting back on. The original tank off the bike, which, I mean, I've looked inside. It looks pretty dirty. We'll see how that turns out. There you have the one side of the drum brakes that fell off in transport. Bunch of sandblasted parts. I might replace those shocks. 3 bins full of crap that I have to figure out what it is. The original seat off the bike, so that should be interesting. Probably get rid of that. The heart of the motorcycle, the motor itself. It was originally painted black, so probably gonna have to sandblast this, repaint it, get it looking the way I want it to. And the rear tire and front tire with brakes that I'm pretty sure are seized, but I look forward to rebuilding those as well. Also, the storage unit came with like one shitty light bulb and another one burnt out. I swapped them out for these two. They were like $3 a piece, really quick. And you can't tell right now, but at nighttime it totally illuminates this entire unit. It makes it a lot easier to work inside. So yeah, that's basically what I'm dealing with here. The storage unit for my CB550 project. The home of this bike for the next little while, however long it takes me to build it. So yeah, there it is.